Can you see anything?
Mm-mm.
Hold on. I can't. I can't see anything. Uh, Hold on. Let me see something real quick. I think that banner is. There we go.
Oh, there we
Bam.
go.
All right, that banner was in the way. All right, welcome to week 5, another episode of Big Dog on Campus, where me and my friend Dylan Reed, we are definitely going to chop it up and talk about college football this week. Um, so sit back and be entertained, and let's dive into these crazy matchups for week 5. So what's going on, Dylan? Man, talk to me.
What's up? What's up? I'm excited. Like we were just talking beforehand, it's a good slate of college football games we have this week. We were just talking about like the outlooks of like the ACC, for example. Like you're going to have number 5 ranked Clemson going up against number 10 ranked NC State. That's going to be a pretty big game. Like the winner of that game, like you said earlier, is going to have like a big outlier into this whole ACC division, and definitely a
Mm-hmm.
lot of playoff implications. It'll be definitely interesting if NC State wins this, like regardless of like ranking wise. Like, would they shoot all the way up to 5, for example, if they beat NC or beat Clemson pretty comfortably? That's like so it's all interesting. And then on the lower end of the rankings, we have Wake Forest and Florida State. Wake Forest lost to Clemson last week in a really, really good game that went to overtime, I think. And then Florida State is 4-0. Like I remember like years making fun of Florida State because like them just being on that upper echelon and them just being so bad for years now. Now they're
Yeah.
4-0 and ranked. So it's going to be a good game. I'm excited for a bunch of these games. I can't wait.
Yeah, I know a lot of games got moved. I think South Carolina game got they played South Carolina State. They got moved to Thursday night because of the hurricane,
Hmm.
and and then last night's game got moved because um I know they're talking about some more games might be moved, but me being here in South Carolina right now, we didn't it didn't bother us that much, so it's kind of clear and outside. So they were expecting a lot of rain for that Clemson and NC State game. So with that game going off at 7:30, it's definitely it's going to be really fun. Probably a little wet out there and everything like that. Mostly everybody probably tailgating. Um, Another interesting game I was looking at is that an interesting team I was looking at also is that you got in the Big Ten you have 4 teams that's undefeated. You got Michigan, Ohio State, Minnesota, and Penn State right now. All 4 teams is 4-0. That's going to be a collision course waiting to
Hmm.
happen for all of them teams.
Hmm.
Um, well, Ohio State playing Rutgers today, they should easily win that game. Penn State playing Northwestern, they should easily win that game. Michigan and Iowa, that's the tricky game because you don't know what Iowa team that you're going to get because
Hmm.
Iowa, for some reason, Iowa always gets up for big games, whether they playing Clemson, Penn State, or Ohio State. They find a way to beat one of them teams. Now, would they beat one of them this year? I don't know. But Iowa is I want. I think Michigan. Well, I was 3-1, so they
Hmm.
got Michigan by 10.5 point favorite.
Hmm.
But I remember, I believe it's last year or the year before when Iowa had upset Ohio State. I think it was the year before, and I will always, like I said, I will always that tricky team when it comes down playing these big matchups with a lot of these teams. They always find a way to upset one of the two, one of the three rather. So that's going to be a pretty interesting game for Michigan because if they was to lose because they ranked number 4 in the nation. Um, can't believe Ole Miss and Kentucky they both 4-0. Kentucky is 7th and Ole Miss is 14th. So it's crazy. You would think Minnesota would be a little bit more higher up. You know what I'm saying because of what they are. Um, but who knows? Then you got a really good game with number 9 Oklahoma State and Baylor. Now that's most likely. I think that's going to be a shootout game. They always have one of them high scoring games with no defense and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, I really think that some of these games is going to be pretty much prone to some upsets. I see some that's going to be kind of close, but some of the big top teams like Georgia, Alabama, I think they'll coast away from there. I think they'll. I really think that Alabama, Arkansas. I don't know. I want to get Arkansas the benefit of that, but I don't think they're gonna be able to hang with Alabama. Depends on how the game goes on. I think Arkansas will have to just really, 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 really come out the gate.
Yeah. KJ Jefferson's a pretty good quarterback for Arkansas. I mean, they did have that loss to Texas A&M that wasn't really ideal because Texas A&M was a team that we didn't really know what they looked like. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they had a tough loss against Appalachian State, and then they had a weird win against Miami, I would say. It was, what,
Yeah,
17-10? So it wasn't
17 to
anything.
9.
Oh, 17-9. So it wasn't
Yeah.
anything big scoring or anything big like that. And then they go and beat Arkansas. Man, I had a lot of more higher hopes for this Arkansas team. I think they could go in there. I think they could go play Alabama and keep it close. But like you
Mm,
said, Alabama's probably going to coast in this game. They're favored by 17 points. I could see it maybe being a little bit closer than that, but 17 is probably the range. I would take it. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Georgia should beat Missouri fairly comfortably. I don't think Missouri should give Georgia any problems, and if they do, that's something on Georgia's end that we should look at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Kentucky and Ole Miss. I didn't even. Funny thing, I forgot Ole Miss was ranked 14, and I'm wearing an Ole Miss number 14 shirt. I was didn't even realize that it's for DK Metcalf. But this is like a game I'm really excited to watch. It's at 11 o'clock. Kentucky versus Ole Miss. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be really good. I feel like this is gonna be a really good shootout. You'll have Will Levis, who's gonna be a top
Yeah.
draft prospect this year, versus Jackson Dart, who is a really good 4-star out of US, who went to USC, transferred to Ole Miss. This is
Mm,
going to be a really good game. I'm really excited. I'm hoping Ole Miss gets the win, but if I had to stay unbiased, Ole Miss is favored by 6.5 points, so
yeah.
it's not like not a crazy idea for Ole Miss to win. But a lot of people count Kentucky out and they still keep winning games. Like this Kentucky has been a pretty decent team for a little bit now. Will
Mm,
Levis has been a pretty good quarterback for a little bit. So I feel like this Kentucky team is going to be really, really hard to stop. I mean, Florida was favored to beat them and they beat Florida no problem.
yeah.
So
I
I
agree with you. Oh yeah. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, 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 no. I was just saying, like, so I feel like if like Kentucky wins and if Kentucky wins comfortably, I don't think that would be any crazy idea because Tulsa gave Ole Miss a little run for their money last week. I mean, Ole Miss didn't coast against Tulsa by any means. It was only a 35-27 win. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky's going to definitely give them a run for their money, and I wouldn't be any short of shocked if Kentucky did win this game at all.
Oh, most definitely. I honestly think that Kentucky always been a team that's Kentucky and Ole Miss. I watch these teams all the time, and I really wanted Lane Kifflin to be our offensive coordinator at Miami because he's so innovative. I love innovative offensive coordinators. That's why I'm so high on Ken Dorsey, even though he won a national championship with Miami in 2001, but he's been
Dream
coaching.
team.
Yeah, and I felt like you know with Miami giving all the money to all these other OCs, could you had a chance to pull Ken Dorsey down there, in the college ranks? But he's doing this thing right now. But Lane Kifflin, man, he just I don't know. It just I think that when he was at Tennessee and then he went to USC, I I'm well, I think he went to USC first and then he came to Tennessee, something like that. But either or, he's been around for a long time. He's been the offensive coordinator for Nick Saban in Alabama. But honestly, I think Alabama's offense hasn't been really that spectacular since he was the offensive coordinator there. I think, you know, Bill O'Brien is decent, but he just doesn't do it for me as an offensive coordinator. You look at now when Alabama had Mitchie and Jameson there, you know, Bryce Young was able to, you know, that's what they did. They just passed, but now it's kind of like they doing a little bit more balance of everything that they need to do, and sometimes that's what it takes, you know, because you got to look at Georgia what they doing right now, and the only way Georgia loses, they don't continue to execute the way they are, and I mean, because eventually they're gonna end up meeting Alabama in the ACC, I mean SEC championship game. That's not a foregone conclusion, but and then you already know no matter which one of them loses, they still gonna be in the college playoffs at the end, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just how it rolls. Unless they all get two losses, and I don't see Georgia getting two losses with you almost midway through the season. Um, I definitely think that looking at we're gonna shift gears for a little bit. We're gonna go to the Pac-10,
Mhm.
and we're gonna talk about Now, I didn't watch the UCLA game last night. I was trying to get into it because they had, I think they had Tulane and somebody playing last night, and it kind of, so and then it's switching in. Like I said before, I really got a chance to get into it. I was like tired, dead tired, sleepy, so I just went to sleep. But watching UCLA, beat Washington because everybody was giving Washington a lot of love. They was ranked number 15. They lost by 8 points last night, so that was a pretty high scoring game. Um, the thing about it is, I think the Pac-10, because I haven't really touched on it too much this week. I was trying to, but a lot of things was going on, with the realignment situation going on, between the Big Ten and the Pac-10, the Big 12 and the ACC, and that um the Pac-10 commissioner is trying to keep UCLA from leaving. Um, but I at the end of the day, I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, especially with the Big Ten already inviting USC and UCLA over there. They're gonna. I mean, it's gonna have to. A lot of money gonna have to be involved, and I don't think ESPN is going to really involve itself to get the Pac-10 more money. I think ESPN really wants some kind of merger between ACC, Big 12, and the Pac-10, which kind of move other lower class teams into the Pac-10 and have some of the big teams move out of the Pac-10 and spread across to make it more, I guess, the playing field one-sided in different conferences. So I don't know, but that was a great win by UCLA. I guess I don't even know what their record is right now. I think they,
Oh, they're undefeated. They're 4-0. Oh, well, they're five
well,
and zero
five,
after
they
that win.
5-0, and
Yeah,
Washington.
they're gonna be ranked. Yeah, the UCLA is definitely gonna be ranked after this. They'll probably shoot up into the top 20s for sure, I would imagine.
Yeah, they definitely will now with beating a top 15 team. And do because USC is what they rank six, they 4-0. So
Hmm.
that's going to be a very, very important
Yeah,
game come up.
yeah. Watching the game last night, like UCLA has to face like or Utah and Oregon, I believe, in a row next. So like next week they have to play Utah, and then next week they got to play Oregon. So they might be coming, but how long will that last? I mean, they got to beat a row against, and I believe USC game is their second to last.
Yeah, I if UCLA UCLA was to get past Oregon and Utah, then you end up beating three top 10 teams, top 25 teams,
Mm-hmm.
and before you get to USC, and that's probably, I mean, Oregon, they have an up and down year right now. Utah, I mean, they not no slouch, so everybody picks Utah to come out of there. They 3-1. They play Oregon State today. They favored by 10.5. They ranked number 12. So we'll see. And with Oregon, Oregon is what ranked 13th, and they 17 and a half on 17-point favor over Stanford. Well, with Stanford, it hasn't looked good all season. So me personally, I think that will be an easy win for Oregon. But them tough Pac-12 games, Pac-10 games, it definitely will going to be is going to be like a collision course, just like we was talking about the Big Ten. It's going to be a collision course with the four teams that's undefeated. Who drops a game before they start playing each other? It's going to be very interesting. So, but the right now the Pac-10 has a lot. Nobody gives them a lot of love right now because of all that realignment stuff, and they are taking a couple of teams away. But if they could show and somehow one of those teams get into the college playoffs, that's a win for that conference. That's a win-win for that conference.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't. A lot of people don't give the Pac-12 love just because, like, they're a type of conference that beat each other every year. Like you always have that one hopeful team in the Pac-12 and they lose. I mean, both times they were in the playoffs, Oregon and Washington. Pretty sure didn't Oregon win in their first round and then lose in the championship? I'm pretty sure to Florida
Yeah,
State, and then Washington just was not good at all. Um, they just don't get a lot of love because, like, I mean, they don't really have any dominant teams. I mean, when it comes to conference championship time, most of their teams have two losses already. I mean, both the teams have two losses, three
yeah,
losses. It's because they all beat each other. I mean, it's a very competitive conference. It's a very high scoring conference. I mean, a lot of my favorite college football players growing up came from the Pac-12 because it's just they're so interesting and they're so good. Like they're all good competitive games. Yeah, the whole realignment stuff is going to be a little bit weird, especially if USC and UCLA do move to the Big Ten, like it's
hmm
expected. Uh, it'll make things interesting. I mean, the Pac-12 is kind of seen as like a weaker conference because they don't really have any dominant contenders or anything like that, or any like dominant playoff threats every year. So
yeah,
losing a big threat like USC, who's projected to become more dominant, they're getting better recruiting. Lincoln Riley's over there now, Caleb Williams, everything like that. Like they're getting better transfers, so they're doing better in recruiting, just period. And then having like a potential powerhouse like that,
hmm
like just move from your conference is just going to be killer for them, especially when they've been getting slack for not being dominant over the years already.
exactly. Because like with the approval of the college playoffs moving up to I think what 12 teams now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm looking at the top 25, and this is what I see right here. But it's going to come down to Georgia, Alabama. Which one of them going? Like I said, both of them will usually get in. It's going to come down to the ACC, the Big Ten. I mean, yeah, the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12. Which one of them going to have the most impressive resume to get into that third, fourth spot? Because the winner out of the Big Ten automatically gets a playoff
Mm-hmm.
berth. So who is going to be left out? Because, like I said, for instance, if USC or UCLA run the table through their conference and beat everybody that's ranked in their conference, they will have the most impressive resume over somebody from the Pac-12 or a Clemson team. Because if Clemson was to lose today, what chance do they have? Because I think they still got Florida State on a schedule to play, and Florida State is playing really really good. What if a Florida State was to go undefeated and win the ACC? There's going to be a lot of questions surrounding, because Clemson, they play Boston College next. They got Florida State the next game after. They got Syracuse that's playing good, that's undefeated right now. Clemson got Notre Dame that's starting to play a little bit better now. Then they got Louisville. Then they got Miami, and depends on which Miami comes to play next week against North Carolina. Clemson, to me, has the roughest road in what they schedule. They might be undefeated now, but I think it's not going to be as easy for them to get out of the ACC because everybody else is playing really, really good, and they could lose this game, they could end up tripping up and losing another game, and that will kill their chances. I think it's going to come down. I think that third spot is going to pretty much go to the Big Ten. That last spot is going to come down to the Big 12 and the Pac 12. I think that's where that last spot is going to come to. I think the Pac 12, I'm giving them a lot of love right now. I want to see them, change the narrative because to me, I don't see Oklahoma State or Oklahoma getting in there. It's just they have to have a really impressive resume. And I think with USC and UCLA, even Oregon, Oregon already got one loss. So, that might help. That might probably won't help them too much because they got decimated by Georgia the first game of the season. So I don't think that will help them any. But USC and UCLA, I think they have the best shot of going through that conference undefeated. It's going to be tough, but I think that one of them could do it, and then we'll see where the ball the chips may fall after that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with this whole playoff outlook, it just depends who's going to be undefeated. Like, you're going to have so many good matchups. Like, who's going to have just one loss, maybe? Like, what team is going to try to come out of this with just maybe one or no losses? That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Utah and Oregon still got to play. You still got like Utah, USC. Like, all these teams still have to play each other, and all these teams are really good teams. It's not like one of these teams are super dominant and they're going to run ramshot and they're going to just do whatever. Like, any one of these games could be really competitive. And
Yeah,
so maybe what happens if USC just is undefeated, beats a Utah, and then slips up against a random team? What happens then? What happens
yeah,
if we have a one-loss Pac-12 champion? What happens if we
yeah,
have a one-loss Big Ten champion? That's where it always gets confusing every year, and that's where that why expansion's been wanted, because when you get to that fourth spot, when you get to that third spot, because usually 1 and 2 are usually like an undefeated Bama, an undefeated Georgia, or a 2 spot is
yeah,
like an Ohio State, someone. But like when you get to those final spots, it's usually where people get to that debate, because it's like, oh, should a one-loss Pac-12 champion make it or a one-loss Big 12 champion make it? That's where like
yeah.
everyone
Like
gets upset.
exactly, like how Edward said, that's why this expanded playoff is needed to happen years ago. All this moving around in conference would have slowed. It definitely would have saved the Pac-12. I agree because if they had expanded, and to Kyle's point, this is the fault of the so-called alliance between the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. If they had just went on and agreed to 2 years, well, a year ago, 2 years ago, to expand the playoffs, then they would have just got it out the way, and regardless if Oklahoma and Texas moved to the SEC, at least the playoffs would have been intact. All these TV deals, then the Big Ten probably wouldn't have even had to offer UCLA or USC any contract, invitation to the conference, and then everybody else will be able to do the things that they needed to do.
Yeah, I agree with I agree with what you said. The interesting thing, like, about like all of this realignment stuff, is like they are choices to expand. Like, it's realignment stuff and like rumor try to get forward. And that's like Oklahoma projected when like projected to move. And a lot of this realignment stuff is going to be in place these conferences when there's already expanded play. Really, we're going to have what you see conferences, but basically our columns are just been making these conferences.
Dylan, you're echoing a little bit.
Echoing a little bit.
Yeah, you was kind of like choppy.
Oh, my bad.
Okay, I think you're
A
there.
little better.
Yeah, that's better.
All right.
Uh,
So, like I was saying, it's like it's that they decided to ban the playoffs when they did, is because like we're gonna have and um these expanded playoffs. So it's going to be interesting how it works because isn't it supposed to be like the some conference champions are going to get these specific spots and then it's going to be
yeah,
like the best at large teams. So it's
yeah,
going to be like, man, you might get like three SEC teams in the college football playoffs, four,
yeah,
because you're going to have Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Texas,
yeah, and
Florida.
and then we're gonna be right back to the same thing again because if the SEC puts four teams in there, and then the other that's there's on, and then you're gonna have to have you probably get two teams from the Big Ten. That's Michigan, um, and Ohio State. That'll round your six off. Then you're gonna have teams from the Big 12, Clemson, um, and then teams from the Pac-12. So that'll round out. That's round eight, and then you might end up getting more SEC teams in there. Who knows? It's just crazy, at this moment. Like what Replacement Sports Network said. He said that if Clemson stumbles and USC runs the table, they in. I agree, and that's why
Agreed.
we just touched on that a few minutes ago, and that's why I say I ran Clemson's schedule down. They is not as strong as everybody likes to think they are. I mean, because that game against Wake Forest, that should have been an automatic L for them right then and there. And then you come back to navigate yourself to play NC State. Now, if NC State wins that game, then you got to look at this Florida State game. Boston College, even though Boston College is not a great team this year, but they do play Clemson tough too. And then you got Notre Dame. You don't know what Notre Dame team is going to show up because they starting to play a little bit better now than what they showed early in the season. So Clemson Road is not that easy. Ian said that the conference champ have a zero. Otherwise, that fourth spot will go to a one loss Bama or Georgia. Well, I
Yep.
mean, we already know that, what I'm saying, that Georgia and Alabama is going to be automatically locked in. No matter if they win one, I mean they go undefeated or they lose one. They're going to be automatic because you Georgia and Alabama will have to lose two teams, and teams like Texas A&M or Ole Miss or somebody will have to beat them for Alabama not to or Georgia not to get in. And so, with that being said, I don't even add them because I already know they'll get in. It's just the other remaining conference that is going to be scrapping because even though Clemson's ranked number four, are they really a number four team of the nation?
The rank five.
Or they ranked five? So,
Mhm.
are they? Yeah, because Michigan ranked number four. Are they really a number five team? I mean, just watching them. What's up, McCool? I mean, what's up, Cool? Um, I mean, you got to look at it because all these rankings just is one of the things that they just throw out there, to say, well, this is this. I mean, you look at it. The SEC probably got more teams ranked in the conference, um, in the conference than any other team right now. So that's going to be one of the main things that we have to look at. I actually want the as me I had to I want the ACC to get better. I really want them to because I see great things from Florida State coming. I see great things from Miami coming. Clemson's going to be Clemson. You got NC State playing good. I don't know what Mac Brown will do with North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? But and then the Georgia Tech job is open and depends on who's get that or if they invest in football. Um, Cool say unfortunately ACC is not consistent, solid. So definitely agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you on that because Clemson does not look like a number five team, and the only reason they got that ranking high is because of who they are and what they have done in the past.
Yeah, that's true. that with the ranks every year. I mean, you got a pretty ranking. I mean, I got a pretty high ranking. Always if they lose 2 games this year, so it's going to come back next year and be ranked 6, 7, 8,
Mm,
5, 4. That's just how it works. Um, yeah, the thing with the ACC is like I wouldn't say Clemson necessarily doesn't look like a number 5 team. I also think they went up against a really good Wake Forest team. I think Wake Forest is a really good team in and of itself. I think they're definitely a top 20 team, and they definitely showed it. I mean, I wouldn't take anything away from Clemson's win against Wake Forest. I feel like it's going to be a tough game.
yeah,
But again, like you said, they have a lot of chance to slip up, and if they do lose a game to like today against NC State, Clemson's known for maybe losing another one that they shouldn't. You know,
yeah.
like when they've lost a game, they've lost another one before. Usually, when it comes in the regular season, um, Clemson always keeps it close against normal ACC opponents, especially good ones. Like it's
Hmm.
not a surpriser like we've seen over the years. Clemson play other ACC opponents really close that have not been ranked or ranked. So that's just how the conference is. But there's a lot of room for error for a lot of these teams. It's hard to see an ACC team make it that's probably not Clemson, or maybe like NC State if they beat Clemson today and went out. It's that spot's probably going to go to maybe a one loss Big 12 team. You know, if Oklahoma can win out, maybe beat Oklahoma State, beat Baylor,
Hmm.
be fine. If Oklahoma State can win out, beat everybody, they can win again, win the conference, or even with Baylor. So there's not a lot of room for error. Maybe even Kansas. Who knows? They're 4-0 right now. Maybe even Kansas. They're 4-0
Well,
right now.
and but look at Kansas State. They ranked though. Just
Yeah,
and
yeah, they're ranked 25.
yeah, and I was just about to say that Kansas not even ranking. They undefeated. Kansas might shock some people in that division
Hmm.
over there in the Big 12. So there's a lot of surprises.
They were like that close of being ranked. Like looking at the votings, they like had 126 votes to be ranked. So like they were literally on like if you had a top 25, they're 26. So
Uh,
Kansas is right there. They have a game against Iowa State, who is 3-1. They gave Baylor a pretty close game last week. So this is definitely a jump in competition. They played an undefeated Duke last week, but I'm not
yeah.
sure how really not sure how we rank Duke on the scale of good teams, but Iowa State's a known for being a lot better of a team. So if they can win this game today, I imagine the loser of Wake Forest and Clemson will probably be unranked. And that's
Hmm.
probably where Kansas is going to take that spot. Like I'm an Oklahoma fan. I'm a true Oklahoma fan at heart. But like it's hilarious seeing a team like Kansas, like who we used to hate on for years, potentially just be ranked, something that we didn't expect. I find it funny, so I'm all
Uh,
for it. I'm all for it.
I have two Facebook friends that I have on there. One, they both live in Oklahoma, and one is Oklahoma. She's an Oklahoma State fan, and the other one's an Oklahoma fan. So it's funny because they be bitter rivals going at it all the time. And then I follow this guy named John Coots. You know, he has a YouTube channel, and he's a diehard Kansas fan. I mean, it's like you could hear the passion spewing out of him when he talks Kansas football. I'll be like, wow. And it's it's good to see Kansas, playing well, even Kansas State. I mean, it's to give that because when Texas and Oklahoma leaves, those teams going, with you're gonna have the Houston's, the Cincinnati's, and all of them in there, but who's gonna be that one team that stands above all? Will it be Oklahoma State? Will it be Baylor? You know what I'm saying? Will about TCU? Because I think they undefeated too.
Yeah, yeah, they're undefeated. They're playing Oklahoma today, so that's going to be a tough matchup. But yeah, they're 3-0 as of right now.
Yeah. So the games that we have pretty much mentioned is that these games is going to either make you or break you for the duration of the season when it comes down to ranking and what they're looking for. Because like who said earlier, SEC has a lot of bias and that's why they are protected. They get, they get in. I would love to. Me personally, I would love to see one team from every conference. You know what I'm saying? Me, me seeing like a Georgia or Ohio State, a Pac-10 team, or I mean a Pac-12 team or a Big 12 team. Just for some, just not giving the same team. I
Hmm.
That's why I guess that's why I root for Alabama to lose all the time because I get so sick of seeing them in
Yeah,
there. You
you
know,
just want something fresh, new teams.
exactly.
I agree. I agree. Like that's like I agree for you. That's why like I would like to see fucking Ole Miss like come out and win. I would like to see Ole Miss beat Kentucky. I'd like to Ole Miss to die, or even Kentucky, for example. I like
Hmm.
Tennessee, just something new, something new. Like that's why I was so happy when Cincinnati made it last year, just because it was just like a breath of fresh air. It was a new team. It was something fresh, like something exciting. Like I 100% agree with you. I'm the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. Like they're good teams, and you have to give them the respect. Like they're
Yeah.
doing it every year. Like they're just the upper echelon of teams, but like just seeing something fresh will be nice. And that's why getting these bigger conferences will be good. And an
Hmm.
expanded playoff will be good because we'll see
Yeah.
these matchups, but also it leaves a lot more room for error for some of these teams. So we'll see a lot more different matchups and a lot more of these other teams make it in
Yeah.
because they'll be just better at large.
I'm gonna throw a scenario out here real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Kentucky's 4-0.
Okay.
Ole Miss is 4-0. If
Okay.
Ole Miss wins, go to 5-0, and they beat. I think do they have? I think they have Alabama on the schedule this year. I think they
Yeah,
do.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know what week, but I'm pretty sure they do.
So say for instance, Ole Miss beats um Alabama and
Okay.
doesn't lose a game for the rest of the year and go to the the SEC championship game to play Georgia, win or lose with Georgia. They won their division. Would a committee allow them to be in, or they shoot Alabama over them? That's the question that I always have in my mind. If Alabama was to lose and don't win the division, would you reward them by putting them in over a team that actually won the division and went to the SEC championship game, even though they might lose? So these are the questions that they have to really ask. Like, hey, because they look for who's exciting more. Alabama be exciting. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I rooted hard last year for Cincinnati, I rooted for Cincinnati so bad. I was like, please don't stumble. You need to get, but the matchup was so bad because you had what? Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Cincinnati. If To me, if they had matched up Cincinnati and Alabama, Cincinnati and Michigan, and they had Alabama and Georgia, then you wouldn't have to get a Georgia Alabama championship game. You just had different. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, you pretty much set it up for them teams to play each other again, but Georgia, they prevail, and I'm glad they did. You know what I'm saying? So, um, Ian said was waiting my Air Force Falcons to be a group of five to pull a Cincinnati, but after losing to Wyoming and now a 2-year postseason ban is hard. Oh yeah, it's gonna be hard for them with that
Yeah,
ban.
get uniforms though. I saw their
Yeah,
uniforms this week. They go hard.
yeah. Kyle said also with the expanded playoffs, a group of five team is guaranteed at least one of those spots. Yeah, that is true, and that's where what the thing about it is, if you look at a team like Appalachian State, they can easily make the move to the AAC, or they could come into the ACC, but I don't think they will have like three North Carolina teams inside the ACC. That would be a little too much right there. Um, so, but I mean, you got a team. It's a team out there that definitely could pull. I mean, look at Coastal Carolina, what they was doing last
Hmm.
year, and look, I don't know what they're doing this year because I haven't caught up with them a little bit. But still, I mean, if the playoffs, we had that 12 team playoff now. I believe Cincinnati. I mean, I believe Appalachian State will get in. They will definitely get in because of the way they're playing, and they already proved they could beat one of the top teams. They have done it numerous times. They have beat a Miami team in the past. They have beat a Michigan team in the past, and now Texas A&M. So I mean, whoever down there, coaching them or putting that program together, they doing a great thing.
Yeah. Um, um, yeah. I mean, overall, like this movement and this expansion is going to do a lot. Like with Appalachian State's a good example of a team that could be like a dominant Group of Five team. I mean, they upset Texas A&M. They've lost last week, which interesting. Um, but like, there's a lot more other examples. Like you have your Liberties, you have your UTSA's, you
Mm-hmm.
have all these like Group of Five teams who dominate their conferences and had maybe one loss, or their only loss is their bowl game when they actually play somebody good. Um, it's like you have all these good teams, and it's going to be good to be able to let them have a chance. Let them see if they can compete against these dominant teams. Like, why not? I don't think it's going to be out of the realm. We're going to get an upset one of these years. Like, we're going to see like a team like a 2 or a 3 seed have to go up against like a Group of 5 team. We're going to be like, oh, this is going to be dominant, and that Group of 5 school is going to win, and we're going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh. So it's going to happen. Hopefully it's going to happen, and I'm excited for that. Like, this gives a lot more light to all these other schools like
Mm-hmm.
that can don't make it because they're not the Alabamas of the world. So they're not the Ohio States, the Georgias of the world. They're not these big conferences or these big schools. So they
Yeah.
don't get this big media spotlight. So having this expansion is going to be really good. It gives them a big chance to like show their skills, like perfect example is that UCF team, that 2016, the one that
Oh
said they were
yeah.
the national champions as well too.
Yeah.
Like, if we had an expanded playoff or something of the sorts like that, like maybe we could have seen that matchup. Who
And
knows?
I'm telling you, I think UCF would have upset one of them teams back then.
They're
If they
fast. That team was fast.
Yeah,
Like,
they were scoring points at
mm-hmm.
a record rate, man. And I was like, and I wanted them to get in. I was like, I want to see somebody. I want to see you. I always root for the underdog. That's all I do. I root for the underdog because
Mm-hmm.
I always want to see something different,
Agreed.
regardless
I do the
of.
same.
And I was like, man, that's why I was like, remember? I don't know if you remember. Remember TCU had that
Mm-hmm.
similar run back then,
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. TCU.
That's what got me like. So I'm only 20, so I'm still like fairly young. But like, that's what got me like hooked on college football, is that TCU team right there. Trayvon Booker, like, that team was so good. That team was so good. And I was so upset because like they deserved it. They deserved that spot. They deserved that spot in the playoffs that year. And I'm so upset they didn't.
Ian talk about come on Coastal Carolina. I like, hey man, you never know. You never know with Coastal Carolina now.
Don't
I
they still
mean,
like Grayson McCall's like a pretty good quarterback? I'm
yeah,
fairly sure. Like, I'm pretty sure their quarterback's really good. Like, Grayson McCall's still pretty good.
absolutely. Cool said lots of the ACC and NC like Duke, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we got half of the state of North Carolina in the ACC. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I wanted to see USC or UCF come to the ACC. That would have been really really great for that conference. They keep this guy that I follow, Golden Blue dude. He's a West Virginia fan. Another guy I follow also they're a West Virginia fan. And Golden Blue, he still, he advocates for West Virginia to come into the ACC, only because the rivalry with Pitt would be so great, and
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia does make sense to be in there. You could build up a rivalry with Virginia, and you still have that Pitt rivalry, so it does make sense. That's why I don't understand. Jim Phillips is probably the worst commissioner in college football right now. I cannot stand him because he would if it wasn't for him, they would have been voted for the college playoff suspension. But no, him and um um Cleveland over there in Pac-12 world, they decide no, we don't want to. Now you had the alliance with Warren over there in Big Ten, and look what they did to you. He his bond with y'all and went out and took two of your teams. And that's what I said. Jim Phillips, he should have really went for it all and understand how, what the benefits would have helped in the ACC. You would have probably had teams wanting to join the ACC if you had agreed to the college playoff a year ago. But that's up to him. Kyle said it seems that college football fans don't like seeing Cinderella teams down the big boys, even though that what makes the March Madness great. Exactly. And
I agree so much on this. I'll let you go, then I'll explain my whole point on this.
okay, cool. I, Kyle, you had the perfect question to this, and I'm sure me Dylan gonna have a great answer to follow. Me personally, that's why when I watched college basketball, I haven't watched it like I used to, but I got back into it last year, and I always want to see a Cinderella team upset somebody because it makes sense. Remember how bad Gonzaga used to be until they started finding a way to be good all the time, and then they finally got up there playing with the big boys and start beating some of the big boys. Because you always had the Dukes. It was always Duke, it was always North Carolina, Georgetown, Villanova, all of them teams, and then to a little small like a school like UNLV came out the West and made a run here. There, you had Davidson with Steph Curry. They made their little run in the tournament, and this is where college football should mark. To me, I think they should blueprint themselves in some capacity to March Madness, where you have these small teams. You don't know what excitement that you're going to get. You don't know what kind of upsets that you're going to get into in college football, because this is what makes college football so exciting, when you have a small school that could upset a big school, and you have all these narratives, and you get to talk about it, and you get to remember this, and you can always go back to these games. You remember when Utah blitzed Alabama back in the day?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I think that was in I think around the BCS time back then. Mm-hmm. So me personally, I love stuff like that. I love it. It helps to elevate the smaller schools a little bit more, makes recruiting a little bit more tougher. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it.
Okay, so my take on that is I completely agree. I don't understand it. Like, one thing, I had a coworker that I worked with at like my last job who I used to joke with all the time about these like Cinderella teams in football. Like, for example, like UTSA was undefeated until like I think they lost to Liberty, but like I was hyping up UTSA. I was like, man, they're ranked 20. Like, watch out, UTSA, the team to beat. It's gonna be the team to beat Alabama. Time Cinder team like that, he'd be like quiet. That's when it basketball, like that happened. Like, that would be like to see if the narrative. I agree. They call football under especially expansion to have more shows about the teams. You need a big selection show process. Like, you need, when it gets closer to week by week basis, when it gets closer to the time, you need to have ranking shows feel more special. You need to make us feel like, wow, the team's actually going to make us, like, you need to give us like more excitement. Like, you need to make us like want to know who's going to be in. You want to make us watch the show and watch these games. And if you're just playing negative, like, oh, Alabama just crushed this little group of 5 team because that's what Alabama is, like, that's fine. I want to see. Give me all the reasons why this group of 5 team can win. So I root that group of 5 team because I see how lose because it's in. So I feel like it should kind of market around that a little bit, but don't get rid of that these dominant teams are dominant, and like let
Yeah.
them bask in their glory as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's why me personally, I love it. I love upsets. I live for it because to me, college football is exciting when you have great games and you have upsets. That would draw fans in a lot. I um they on Fox show they showed Iowa's um path of destruction when it came to their own conference, how they was beating teams. Like last year they beat Penn State. They won by 3.
Mm-hmm.
They showed that how they upset Michigan and how they upset Ohio State and how they upset Michigan State. So that's why I say this game between Michigan and Iowa is going to be very crucial because
Mm-hmm.
Iowa is one of them teams that, regardless of what their record is, they will play tough all the time. So right now I know we had a late start because we were supposed to start at I think like 9:30, but we are close to I think we at noon right now. So we got like 9 minutes left. So Kyle, we gonna Dylan, we gonna go over some matchups real quick. So just key matchups, and I want to get your prediction on each one of these matchups.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start with your. I'm gonna start with your. Since you have the shirt on, real quick, we're gonna go with Ole Miss and Kentucky.
Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Ole Miss on this one. I feel like this is gonna be Ole Miss is a well more put together team. Ole Miss is the favorite for a reason. I feel like Ole Miss is gonna win it. I just have more faith. Zach Evans is playing. I mean, if Zach Evans wasn't playing in this game, I probably would have given it to Kentucky. But I feel like this Ole Miss team is hungry, and Lane Kiffin, what it wants to prove, like to this SEC, like that he's here. Like I'm here. Like I want a top 10 spot. I'm gonna go. Ole Miss is gonna win it. I feel like 6.5 is a good score margin. I would probably take 6.5, probably a touchdown, maybe even like I would honestly take less, 1 or 2 points.
I, I think me personally, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Ole Miss also. Because I want to see what Lane Kiffin does from here on down because um I know that they got Alabama coming up, and if that's gonna be a toughie, but if he was to somehow beat Alabama, things could get really, really, really interesting along the way for the rest of the season. Speaking of Alabama, we got Alabama, Arkansas. Who you got in that one?
Uh, Alabama, I feel like that this is a pretty simple one. I feel like I said earlier when we were talking about the game in general, Arkansas is going to keep it close at half, and Alabama just kind of slowly just chip away and get a bigger lead. I don't think it's going to go the final score. I don't think 17. I think Alabama win by maybe 10-13. It would just be a slow climb to that 10 to 13 points, I think, for that lead. But I think that will win pretty good.
Okay. What's the next one? And the game that is pretty much showing now, Michigan or Iowa.
Um, Man, I always love an upset, and Iowa's done it before, so it wouldn't be crazy. But I feel like Michigan's going to win. I feel like JJ McCarthy's a really good quarterback. What the offense really needed. It kind of took them. I wouldn't say to the next level, but like they're in the right direction. More with JJ
Mm,
McCarthy, I think, than Caden McNamara. So I feel
yeah,
like I feel like Michigan's gonna win. I feel like they could win by more than 10.5 points. It just, like you said earlier, depends on what Iowa team you get. Like, are you gonna get this beast slayer Iowa team, or are you gonna get the Iowa team that just doesn't know how to play some weeks? So
yeah.
it just depends on what Iowa team they get. But I feel confident Michigan's gonna come out with the win.
I agree with you on that. I'm leaning towards Michigan. Because of the quarterback play of McCartney. Um, I think when Josh Gaddis was there and he had McNamara there, it was the offense was more run based and everything. And Michigan offense hasn't lost a step since he left. and I think they became a little bit more explosive a little bit to where they was able to they able to put pressure on teams. So yeah, I'll roll with Michigan on that point right there. I think Dylan froze up.
Oh, no, freeze.
Okay, yeah. So oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I Michigan is just yeah. I feel like Michigan is just gonna be a way better team. Yeah, feel like Michigan is gonna just it's just it's so tough with Iowa because like Iowa is such a good game was such a good team. Like when they want to be like it's like Purdue. It's like I want to vote for Purdue on some of these upsets because like
Yeah,
they can do it. The Big Ten is just so weird. Like I just don't like Ohio State, and Michigan. Give me
yeah,
Iowa upset. Just
yeah,
kidding.
exactly. Okay, we're gonna roll down to the ACC, and we're gonna pick. I'm gonna put out there Florida State and Wake.
I'm going Wake. I feel like they should have won last week, which is upsetting. I really, I really felt like I was kind of really hype on Wake this year. I was a little my tides kind of shift when Sam Hartman was out for a little bit. Then he came back and he was
Yeah.
like medically cleared and everything was okay with him, which is good. Good to hear. I feel like they should have won last week. I'm not 100% sold on Florida State. Like I feel like, of course, they're getting this ranking and stuff because of the name, and also they're a good football team, but I just don't think they're better than Wake Forest. I feel like Florida State is becoming this favored team because of the name, but
Mm-hmm.
Wake Forest did play Clemson to a really close game, and Clemson, if even if people don't like it or not, is still ranked the number 5 team in the country, and that says something for Wake Forest for sure.
Well, I think since Wake is ranked 22, Florida State is 23. I think will Wake have a letdown from for that Clemson game? That's what I want to see. Or if they could capitalize on a good performance, and I know that Florida State, everything based on their little defense and everything like that. I just want to see how well can they play, how they play with a little bit more competition and weight. You know what I'm saying? How they gonna be able to deal with Hartman and the passing game and stuff like that. I think Wake Forest. I mean, they surprisingly, they didn't supposed to have this great running game, but they was able to run the ball a little bit against Clemson. So how would they be able to do that against Florida State? Which Florida State do play very aggressive, but you can pass on Florida State also. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm gonna go opposite this time. I'm gonna pick Wake in an upset in that game, just for the sheer fact. Just want to see what they could do. So I'm gonna pick them in an upset. Um, Now Clemson and NC State. Now this game was at 7:30, but I'm looking at it and said now it's 4:30 now, so I don't know. It's kind of weird. It might still be 7:30. Um, so what you think about this game?
Um, because on the flip, is hyping saying that they're a good team for Pitt, Clemson, but like here is clearly a number 5 team. Like was like a level team, like a number 20 at where Clemson should try.
Mm-hmm.
Like, talk about size. On it, I think NC State's a good team. I think in Devin Leary's a good quarterback. He's getting a lot of hype of this good prospect this year in this upcoming draft season. But I think Clemson's going to win it just because it's going to be close. I mean, I feel like they have a little more experience than what NC State does. NC State's a good team. They're a good defensive team. I just feel like Clemson is more experienced in these bigger games,
Mm-hmm.
this bigger atmosphere, these ranked games. So I feel like Clemson's just going to have a little bit of an edge. If NC State upsets, I think it'll shock me a little bit. I feel like Clemson should win this game. I'm just not 100% sold on the fact on NC State yet. They haven't played really. They played some of their starting games a little bit closer than I liked against some competition. I'm just gonna go Clemson in the win. If NC State wins, I'll be shocked. But like, if they do win, rank them 5. like
Yeah.
upset me. I would like to see them win. Like I'm not
Yeah.
saying that because I want to see them lose. I'd like to see them upset Clemson and be ranked number 5. Put somebody new in there.
I agree. So I okay, Clemson at home, they should win. They're at home. They got the crowd, they got everything. But from past history, I'm just not going to appoint them to win this game. I think it would be close. And if NC State could keep it close to where they have a chance to win, then I could see NC State winning the game. But since Clemson's at home, I say the edge go to Clemson, but I'm not gonna be shocked if NC State wins the game. If NC State wins the game, that's because I already know that they could beat them because they did it in the past already, and they always played them tough. So it won't be a shocker to me. So I'm gonna say Clemson because they home, but it won't be anything surprising. My last game of the day will be Oklahoma and TCU.
So as we're speaking right now, just so like I don't say anything wrong, TCU just did score. My phone went off. TCU is up 7-0 right now. Oklahoma fumbled on their first drive, so that's what I'll just say. Hopefully Oklahoma. I live in Oklahoma now. I'm from Kansas, so that's why I was kind of joking about Kansas earlier. I live in Oklahoma now. I'm a big OU fan. I will say that's my number one team. Big Oklahoma person, so I hope OU wins. But with that being said, who knows? I mean, they lost to Kansas State. That seems like that's one of the teams that's their kryptonite is Kansas
Mm,
State. They're known for losing to more than one random Big 12 team in a season. Oklahoma kind of has a path now to try to make it back if they want to make it to the playoffs. Like they need to have a pretty good win. They're going to have to run the table and win the conference, even if they want to have like a shot at making the playoffs this year. And a year that would I'm not saying people expect them to make it, but I mean, they got a transfer quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, who is fairly older now. I'm not sure if is what happens to him. Like, will he have another year of eligibility, or does he have to go to the draft? Or I'm not sure what the case is with Dylan Gabriel next year, but
yeah,
they kind of have to like prove it with him now, especially in this timeline. I'm not saying that they need to make the playoffs, but if they want to, like they have to win out. So I feel like this Oklahoma team needs to they're going to come out a little more aggressive. They'll probably start slow. They'll probably might be down 10, 14 points at some point in the game, but I think they'll slowly climb up and win the game.
I think since you mentioned it, Oklahoma fumbled the ball. That's going to be a issue with them if they continue to turn the ball over and TCU capitalize. TCU is probably going to end up running away with this game, but all pack. I mean, Big 12 schools, they love these shootout games, so no lead is safe. If TCU was to get out like 21 points to 7 or 3, whatever, it's going to be a long day for Oklahoma. And they definitely will have to play mistake-free football along the way to even have a chance to get back in there. Now, Oklahoma they don't really have a defense, but they do have some type of defense that helps them get back in games. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But I don't. I think TCU is probably going. I think this game is for TCU to lose. If they lose this game, their chances to win in the Big 12 is not going to happen. So
Mm.
I think they'll find a way to win this game over Oklahoma. So
We're all just waiting for Kansas to win the Big 12 anyways.
Cool say TCU is a good team. I'm going to pick them.
Hey, fair
Right,
enough, fair enough.
right. He said he's going with Florida State, so I'm going opposite. I'm going
I think he's
TCU.
just picking opposite of me, man. I picked
Yeah,
Oklahoma. I picked Wake Forest. And he's going, nah, I'm going TCU and Florida State. That's the only two picks he commented on.
right. So this has been a very good. I mean, man, Dylan, you definitely a college football head, man. The conversation was great. We touched on a lot of stuff, a lot of different topics and stuff like that. So um, I get to see you tomorrow for Sunday morning
Yes, we got
drive.
an we got we got an NFL show tomorrow. We got an
We got
NFL
it.
show
Yeah,
tomorrow.
we got an NFL show tomorrow. So looking forward to that. And
Yes.
man, I'm gonna have to. I got to do a preview video later today on my Washington Commanders against the Dallas Cowgirls. So
Mm.
thanks, Kyle. Thanks, cool. I really appreciate it. Any opportunity, I get to jump on here and help everybody out. But when
Hmm.
it comes down to sports, it's my language barrier, man. I love
I
it.
know. I was excited. I was excited. They said, "You want to do a college football podcast?" And I was like, "I think I do." I mean, I haven't had a chance to talk college football yet, so
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
pretty good. It was a good talk, good conversation.
So yeah, this is my segment right here. I love college football, man, because we all waited all summer and for football to come back to regular, no pandemic, just
Hmm.
everything
Yep.
everything back normal. So I'm happy at that. So until tomorrow, my friend,
Hmm.
and next week Saturday we do this all over again. I would say have a great weekend.
Hmm.
Enjoy your Kansas team and your Ole Miss team. So hopefully they both win. And I will see you tomorrow morning.
Yep. See you tomorrow.
All right, man.
Bye.